Welcome back to our channel English with Sobe. Today, we're talking about something deep and powerful why you always feel tired. In a crowded city filled with flashing lights, rushing footsteps, and the constant sound of horns, there lived a young woman named Zara. From the outside, her life looked perfectly ordinary. She had a stable job, a small apartment, and a routine that many people would call disciplined. Every morning, she woke up with the alarm at 6:30, dragged herself out of bed, and got ready for work. She drank her coffee quickly, barely tasting it, and joined the stream of people on the streets heading toward their destinations. To others, she looked like just another face in the crowd, blending into the endless rhythm of city life. But if you ask Sarah how she felt most of the time, her answer would always be the same: tired. It was not the kind of tiredness that goes away with a night of good sleep. It was something heavier, something deeper. She felt it in her bones, in her thoughts, in the way her eyes struggled to stay open even when the day had just begun. It was as though an invisible weight followed her everywhere, pressing down on her shoulders. Her co-workers often joked, "Zara, you always look sleepy. Didn't you get enough rest last night?" She would smile faintly, hiding the truth. Because how could she explain that no matter how many hours she slept, she still woke up exhausted? How could she say that her body was not just battling sleep, but carrying an endless fatigue of the mind? Every day at work was a blur. She would sit at her desk, open her laptop, and drown in emails, deadlines, and meetings. People around her laughed, made weekend plans, or shared funny stories. Sarah, on the other hand, barely spoke. She saved her energy for getting through the tasks, hoping she could finish early, though she never did. By evening, when she finally returned home, her little apartment greeted her with silence. The lights felt dim, the air heavy, and even though her bed was right there waiting, her thoughts kept her awake. Sometimes she sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the wall, wondering why she was always this tired. She remembered how as a child she used to run freely in the narrow lanes of her old neighborhood. Back then, she never thought about exhaustion. She could play for hours, laugh endlessly, and still wake up the next morning with the same energy. That memory often broke her heart. Where did that girl go? Why had she grown into someone who felt older than her age? Someone who struggled to carry herself through simple days? One Friday evening, instead of heading straight home, Sarah decided to take a detour. She walked slowly through the city park, where children were playing football, women were jogging, and elderly men were sitting on benches discussing life. She stood under a tree, listening to the noise of the park mixing with the fading sounds of traffic. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to breathe deeply, and a thought struck her: maybe her constant tiredness wasn't just about sleep, but about the way she was living. Her body was running every day, but her soul was exhausted. She was carrying worries about her future, expectations from her family, and the silent comparisons she made with her friends. Every time she looked at social media and saw others smiling, traveling, achieving, she felt smaller inside. That invisible pressure never let her rest, not even in her dreams, and so, when her body tried to sleep, her mind continued running, leaving her tired before the day even started. As she stood in the park, She thought of something her grandmother once told her when she was a little girl. Beta. Sometimes tiredness is not in the body, but in the heart. And when the heart is heavy, no bed in the world can give you rest. At that moment, Zara realized how true those words were. That night, back in her apartment, she sat with a notebook and wrote down everything that was weighing on her: her fears, her doubts, her regrets. The pages filled quickly. But as the ink flowed, she felt a small release. For once, she wasn't holding everything inside. She realized she needed to take care of more than just her body. She needed to rest her mind, her emotions, her spirit. Days didn't magically transform after that. But Zara began to make small changes. Instead of scrolling endlessly on her phone at night, she read books that calmed her. Instead of skipping meals, she cooked simple, healthy food for herself once a week. She visited the park again, allowing herself to sit quietly among the trees. And most importantly, she started sharing with a close friend what she felt, instead of pretending everything was fine. Slowly the heaviness began to ease. She still felt tired at times, but not in the same way. Her eyes carried less weight. Her steps felt lighter. She understood now that constant tiredness wasn't a curse, it was a signal. A message from within that she needed balance, not just survival. And as she walked through the same crowded city, Zara realized that though the traffic, the noise, and the rushing people hadn't changed, something inside her had. For the first time in years, she no longer felt like she was drowning in exhaustion. She was learning to live, not just to survive.